Hello everyone, we are from sixth group and we would like to share some material. The material is about mistake and feedback. The first material will be shared by me and the second material will be shared by Nita and the third material will be shared by Yuda. Okay, let's go to the first material. The first material is about student make mistake. Julian Age suggests that we can divide mistakes into three broad categories. First is slips. Slips means that students can correct themselves once the mistake has been pointed out to them. The second is errors. Errors mean students can correct themselves. And the last is attempts. Attempts means that student try to say something but does not yet know the correct way to saying it. There are two distinct causes for the errors. Cause for the errors is first is L1 interference. Students who learn English as a second language already have a deep knowledge of at least one other language, and where L1 and English come into contact with each other, there are often confusions which provoke errors in a learner's use of English. This can be at the level of sounds. Arabic, for example, does not have a phonemic distinctions between F and V, and Arabic speakers may well say very when they mean it's very. The second is developmental errors. For a long time, now researchers in child language development have been aware of the phenomenon of overgeneralizations. This is best described as a situations where a child who starts by saying daddy when or they came, for example, perfectly correctly suddenly starts saying daddy got and they come. What seems to be happening is that the child starts to overgeneralize a new rule that has been subconsciously learned, and as a result even make mistakes with things that he or she knew before. Errors are part of the student's interlanguage. That is the versions of the language which a learner has at any one stage of development and which is continually reshaped as he or she aims toward full mastery, I mean. And the second material is about assessing student performance. Assessment of student performance can come from the teachers or from the students themselves. First is teachers assessing students. Assessing of performance can be explicit when we say that was really good, or implicit when during a language drill without comment and corrections. The assessment we give is either largely positive or somewhat negative. Students are likely to receive in terms of praise or criticism. Indeed, one of our rules is to encourage students by praising them for work that is well done, just as it is one of our that is to say when things have not been successful. Uh, the next material is the number of ways in which we can assess our students' work is first comments. The comments we may say good for positive, and for negative we might do so by indicating that something has gone wrong. The second is marks and grade. Awarding a mark of 9 or 10 or giving A or B plus. The last one is reports. Reports at the end of the term or year, some teachers write reports on their students' performance to give to uh, their parents. Okay, let's talk about student assessing themselves. Although as a teachers, we are ideally placed to provide accurate assessment of students' performance. Students can also be extremely effective at monitoring and judging their own language productions. Uh, there is a three ways can use by the teachers is first self-assessment. Self-assessment is the learner autonomy, and the second is self-evaluations. Self-evaluations can use shares the students can make some list to checks your progress uh, about your uh, rec- record about your materials. The last one is ROA. ROA is means that write their own assessment and teachers then add their own assessment too. It's enough for me. Thank you for your attentions.
So for the next material is feedback during oral work. Through feedback, both assessment and correction can be very helpful during oral work. Teachers should not be deal with all oral production in the same way. Decision about how to treat the performance will depend upon the stage of the lesson, the activity, the type of mistake made, and the particular student who is making that mistake. Accuracy and fluency. A distinction is often made between accuracy and fluency. We need to decide whether a particular activity in the classroom is designed to expect student is complete accuracy. As in the study of a piece of grammar, a pronunciation exercise or some vocabulary work, for example, or whether we're asking the student to language as fluently as possible. We need to make a clear difference between non-communicative and communicative activities. So for the next one is feedback during accuracy work. As suggested at the beginning of this chapter, correction is usually made up to distinct stages. In the first, teacher should show student that a mistake has been made, and in the second, if necessary, they help the student to do something about it. Well, there are some alternative techniques to give a feedback on student, and the alternative techniques are first, repeating. Here we can ask the student to repeat what they have said, perhaps by saying again, which coupled with intonation and expression will indicate that something is not clear. For the second one is echoing. We repeat what the student has said, emphasizing the part of the utterance that was wrong. For example, Flight 309 go to Paris. Say that questioning intonation is an extremely efficient way of showing incorrectness during accuracy work. For the third one is statement and question. For the fourth is when we know our classes well, a simple facial expression or a gesture, for example a wobbling hand, may be enough to indicate that something doesn't quite work. This needs to be done with care, as the wrong expression or gesture can be some circumstance appear to be mocking or cruel. For the next one is hinting. A quick way of helping students to activate rules they already know is to give a quiet hint. And for the last is reformulation. Reformulating the sentence but without making a big issue of it. For the next material is feedback during fluency work. We need to respond to the content, not just language form. We also need to be able to untangle problems which our students have encountered. There are ways we can respond to our students once such activities are over. 1. Gentle correction. If communication breaks down completely during a fluency activity, we may well have to intervene. If our student cannot think of what they say, we may want to prompt them forward. Gentle correction can be offered in a number of ways. We might simply reformulate what the student has said and the expectation that they will pick up our reformulation, even though it hardly interrupts their speech. Overuse of even gentle correction will, however, be counterproductive. By constantly interrupting the flow of the activity, we may bring it to a standstill what we had to judge. Therefore, is whether a quick reformulation or prompt may help the conversation move along without interrupting too much, or whether, on the contrary, it's not especially necessary and has the potential to get in the way of the conversation. So for the second one is recording mistake. We can record student language performance on audio or videotape. In this situation, the student might be asked to design their own charts, like the one about so that when they listen or watch, they too will recording more and less successful language performance in categories which make remembering what they heard easier. And for the third one is after the event. When we have recorded student performance, we will want to give feedback to the class. We can do this in a number of ways. We might want to give an assessment of an activity, saying how well we thought if the student did in it, getting the student to tell us what they found easiest or most difficult. So that's all from me. The next material will be delivered by Ida Fahmi. Thank you.
Okay, for the last material, we have feedback on written work. The way we give feedback on writing will depend on the kind of writing task the student have undertaken and the effect we wish to create. When the student do workbook exercise based on controlled testing activities, we will mark their effort right or wrong, possibly penciling in the correct answers for them to study. Okay, we have to written feedback techniques are when handing back students writing work on paper or using a computer reviewing program to give on word process document. We can use a number of devices to help them write most successfully in the future. First is responding. Responding is we tell them how successful they have been and which areas they have improved or need to improve. Okay, one way to considering feedback is to think of is responding to students' work rather than assessing or evaluating what they have done. And the second one is coding. Coding means teachers use a code with symbol on the margins, allow students to focus on the particular aspect of the language. The example are spelling, verb, tenses, paragraph constructions, and cohesions. And the codings, some teachers use codes and can then put these codes either in the body of the writing itself or in corresponding margin. This makes correction much neater, less threatening, and considerably more helpful than random marks and comments. Okay, the next material is finishing the feedback process. Except where students are taking achievement or proficiency tests, written feedback is designed not just to give an assessment of the students' work, but also to help and teach. We give feedback because we want to affect our students' language use in the future as well as commenting upon its use in the past. Okay, let's check the point. Finishing the feedback process, writing feedback is designed as a tool to help learners improve their language use. And last is when we respond to first and second written to draft of a written assignment, we expect a new versions to be produced which will show how the students have responded to our comments. And the feedback process is only really finished once they have made this change. If students consult grammar books or dictionaries as a way of resolving some of the mistakes we have signaled for them, the feedback we have given has had a positive outcome. Thank you for your attention.